So the Preludes, short fragments of poetry. The prelude, of course, traditionally means an introduction, prelude, something that comes before. And in many ways, these poems appeared in the first collection that had proof rock, and in many ways, they kind of feel very much like they're in the same vein and have the same thematic concern and so forth. And for that reason, they're very highly linked. So getting to understand proof rock, the modernity in terms of the grunginess of life, the ugliness of and drudgery of things, the lack of nature, the spiritual nihilism, all of that stuff is participating in the conversation we have with Preludes. Very much so. It feels almost like the same streets that proof rock himself wanders. So it's a really good one to move on to after studying proof rock or prior to studying proof rock. Either way, they kind of go together. So there's 4 of these. And yes, they're linked, but they are 4 separate pieces of work. So even though we start with time and winter evening, and the next one is the morning, and the third one is night time, trying to get to bed. And the fourth one sort of is a much more spiritual one, which we'll get to in a moment. They are their own works in many ways. They can be considered on their own merits. And they do link thematically, but really that's about it. They don't need to say it's all one poem. Preludes, there is a very much here a plural. This is not the prelude, this is preludes. Okay. So, this first one, prelude 1. The winter evening settles down with smell of steaks in passageways. 6 o'clock. So yes, straight away, time and place, time and place. So time and place, winter evening. Smell of steaks in passageways. So our first sensory moment is one of smell. Okay, so there's a sense there. And we're getting to understand what this space not only looks, feels like, but smells like. Now, the smells of steaks in passageways reminds us, of course, of one of those issues in modernism of the day-to-day, the everyday. It's 6 o'clock, it is dinner time. It's 6 o'clock, it is time to eat. And it's important also that it is considered this 6 o'clock here because, of course, 6 o'clock eating a meal suggests, of course, the end of a working day, which ends 5 o'clock, 5:30, whenever it is, and you move straight to a meal. So even the control of your eating is excuse me, is considered sort of impacted upon. The meal at 6 o'clock becomes an everyday thing. The smell of steaks in passageways. Now we might think of steak in our day and age as quite a nice thing to eat, genuinely pleasant meal. But in this situation, it's utilitarian. It's survival food. It's not cuisine. We're not getting the smell of a 5-star restaurant or anything like that. The smell of steaks in passageways means that everyone's either eating the same thing. This is a common food. There is nothing different. 6 o'clock, eat a steak. Things don't change. It is repeated and repeated and repeated. The burnt-out ends of smoky days. So we have a lovely metaphor here, as we know. Burnt-out ends, and that relates, of course, to the cigarette butt. Okay, so cigarette butt. Burnt-out ends of smoky days. The end part of a cigarette butt. The reason why we get that sense, of course, is that the cigarette is a one-off, throwaway item. To sustain, say, something like a nicotine habit, it's not genuinely engaged like a cigar, which might be smoked at celebration, or a pipe, which is used after a meal and used to ponder and think and wonder about the universe. A cigarette is a very quick, ugly, a brutal way of getting the nicotine into you. Now, of course, this is 1920s, 1930s. Nicotine is just part of the social form and structure at that time. We know it's very, 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 very bad for us, as a disclaimer. This is not promoting that at all. So the burnt out ends of smoky days, another day gone, another day forgotten. Okay, that you don't remember that last cigarette. It's just another cigarette, another cigarette, another day, the ash burning away to the end of the day, and then it's thrown on the ground, and the cigarette butt ubiquitous in this place everywhere. These cigarette butts are all over the place. They're just a remnant of people's day-to-day habits and movements. And now a gusty shower wraps the grimy scraps of withered leaves. Grimy, withered leaves. These two adjectives. Okay? Grimy and withered leaves. Leaves about your feet. These leaves, element of nature, rare in a modernist poem. That's more romantic. But of course our leaves here are withered and grimy. Withered's one thing. Of course, withered, it's winter. That makes sense. But it's not celebrated in the way, say, a romantic might celebrate the turning of a season and a leaf moving through different colours through the autumnal brilliance of autumn and then into the decline in winter. But the sense of rebirth, there might be a bud on a tree and things like that. That's what the romantic will go for. Here, the leaves are just withered and they're left at that. But worse still, they're grimy. So the modern world has had its impact on the natural world. Turned the natural into grime, into ugliness, into something awful. And the shower is gusty, the gusty, showery rain. It's not pleasant, it's not beautiful, it's not refreshing, it's not cleansing. It evokes griminess. Even the water doesn't wash away this urban horror, Dantesque hell. And newspapers from vacant lots. The showers beat. So the other thing that's being blown around are the newspapers from vacant lots. Two things are going on there. Of course, a newspaper is very much a part of a throwaway society. News today, rubbish tomorrow. So each day has little or no consequence. And a vacant lot is not a park. It's not a public square. It's a vacant lot. It's a useless bit of land. Okay, so those two images are key in understanding what he's trying to evoke here in sense of the context of Eliot's time and why he's doing this. The showers beat on broken blinds and chimney pots. The imagery's kept going. Of course, a broken blind. This is a rundown part of town. Chimney pots is a very urban landscape. Chimney pot after pot after pot. It's like a terraced house. We don't need to explain there's terraced houses. The word chimney pots just gives us that information. And at the corner of the street, a lonely cab horse stamps. Steams and stamps. And here's our only actual living creature that we have met. There's a remnant of living creatures all through it, but we meet this cab horse. He steams and stamps. Why? This is a beast of burden. This is a beast that has been captured, held, and used for a singular purpose. Okay, therefore he's captured, held, and used by and need for the modern world. He's representative, she actually is representative of what it is to be captured in this space, to be used for one mechanical purpose. For that, the cab horse's job is to drive the cab. Your job is to go to the factory, whatever it is. So there is almost like a spiritual brother or sister in this cab horse for the voice of the poem. And then the lighting of the lamps. Is it hopeful? Maybe. A bit of light coming, a bit of respite, a bit of change. Possibly. So maybe it ends on a reasonably positive note. That's our first one.